Well, the portal is closed for the time being. And even though there are about 1,000 players still out there already in the portal, there's nobody that West Virginia is particularly interested in at the moment. And since they have probably used up all of their official visits until spring, it would be difficult to do any recruiting. And that's just as well, because it's time to shake things down, look around, and figure out where we stand before figuring out where we're going to go next. And I'm going to get to all of that. And first, I'm going to ask you, please click that thumbs up button. If you haven't clicked to subscribe, please do that. Maybe the notification bell if you feel like it. Share. Tell your friends. Let them know that WVU Football Going Deep is out there on YouTube doing strange and funky things. And there's also a link on the channel homepage if you feel like taking that route, and I wouldn't mind. Now, we had 6 visitors this past weekend. They've all made their choices or had their choices made for them one way or another. So we're going to start there. And that's the misses, or, well, let's just say guys we aren't going to have on the team. Whether we should be upset or happy, we may never know. Voisin was a safety. He was one of the top ranked. He was, I think the second highest ranked of those still available, and he's going back to South Alabama. There are guesses and gossip, as usual. We'll probably never know exactly why he made the choice. Odds are it's academics in one way or another. That could be that too many of his classes weren't going to transfer to whichever school he was trying to go to. Or it could be that he was particularly close to graduating, and most schools have a requirement that you have to get your last 30 credits at that school in order to graduate. They don't want guys coming in, taking one class and saying, I graduated from that. I mean, the school doesn't get a lot of benefit out of that. And you're looking at either 2 very high load or pretty high load semesters, or 3 semesters in order to graduate. And, if you're pretty close to graduating at home, more or less, it makes the transfer less attractive. But whatever it was, he's back to South Alabama, and good luck to him. Singleton was a cornerback that a lot of people thought we were going to get. We didn't. He signed with Oregon State, which sounds a little weird when the Pac-12 is effectively non-existent now. I mean, there's nothing there that you can call the Pac-12. So he's going to a smallish team in a shrinking conference, but it is close to home. And while some people were saying that he would come in and automatically be the number 1 cornerback, that just wasn't sure. A lot of factors. He was going to have to come in and compete. Oregon State chances of being number 1 are a lot better. And that may have been the most important thing for him, plus being close to home. Now, Hills, defensive lineman. At one point, it looked like we were, pretty good shot at getting him. Jackson committed, which may have affected the decision. Hills got a last-minute visit worked into Wisconsin. Delayed his decision until Monday. Delayed his decision until today. And just saw moments before I did the video on 24/7 Sports, he has agreed to go to Wisconsin. That's fine. We didn't have a desperate need for another defensive lineman, and we certainly have time to wait and see. Now, we did get 3 out of 6, which is a pretty darn good, percentage, and I think we got the guys at the greatest need. Now, I've covered 2 out of the 3. We got Bosley for the offensive line. Looks to be star power right tackle. And that may have been the biggest remaining need. We have some guys who may be good, but it's not really clear, and they probably weren't going to be ready this year. He looks ready. We got Jackson, defensive line. Should make that line more explosive. He is for 2025, he's better probably than Durja, or 2024, excuse me. Boy, I'm too old to be rushing time like that. But for 2024, he will probably be better than Durjaye would be. And yesterday, I think it was yesterday, picked up commit from a safety, Taj Rael. And he will likely move into the spear spot. Tackling, phenomenal. We just run defense. There are uncertainties about his coverage ability. Now that sounds very familiar. It's a problem we have dealt with at the spear position forever, as long as we've had a spear position. I don't really know. Jazir Cox at his height may have been, fine all around, but it was hard to tell with other issues in the defense. The reason for wanting Voisin was that he probably would have been a much more all-around spear. Didn't work out. We got what we got. What we got looks to be good. Not perfect. We'll manage. Now the reason, the title of this video, or the title that I am planning at this moment, includes "Maybe" with a hyphen. And that's because after spring practice, spring camps close, the portal opens, and then in May, we may see more movement. And by that time, we'll know how the young players are shaping up, how the transfers are shaping up, maybe how some of the guys are coming back from injuries. I don't know who will or won't be back by spring. But just overall, we should have, or the coaches should have, a better idea of what the needs still are. And it's not going to be anything big. We will have guys leaving or forced out at that point, just to get down to the 85 scholarship cap. So just because guys leave after spring doesn't mean we'll be looking to replace them. The guys leaving will mostly be ones who aren't going to be playing. So how does this affect the guesses at depth chart? And I'm not going to cover full depth chart, just some of the portal players and how that affects things. With Ty French coming in, edge rusher Bandit, he will start at Bandit. Bradley will play a lot, and we will almost certainly keep using the two Bandit approach at times. But I fully expect French to start against Penn State. Or we may use the two Bandits against Penn State, but French will be Bandit 1. And Bandit 2. And, okay, now you need to go watch Burt Reynolds and Jerry Reed and Smokey and the Bandit. Bandit 1 and Bandit 2. Go have fun. Bosley probably starts at right guard. Unless somebody really steps up, right tackle. Unless somebody really steps up their game, he starts. Then the question becomes those guys who are number 2 and particularly number 3 on the depth chart. And if you're looking at right tackle and number 2 is a really young guy and number 3 is a guy who's been here a couple of years and isn't getting traction, not going anywhere, maybe even moving down, that's who will likely go play someplace else. Of course, we don't even know for sure if the team will release an official depth chart after spring. There'll probably be something out there. Jackson, I don't think he will necessarily start on the defensive line. He will play significant snaps. We're probably looking at 30 snaps a game, which is not going to be a whole lot less than the starting. He's going to be one of those number 2 guys who is more like a 1.5. 40 to 50 snaps for a starter, 30 snaps for the backup, maybe 10 snaps for somebody else. Carrico coming in at linebacker. Now he's going to be the mystery. He's the question mark. Didn't play at Ohio State, but the guys ahead of him were pretty dang good, very dang good. So Carrico may be better than the guys we have. He may start. He may move out a bit to Spear. I don't know what his speed is. And they may just, work around with him to see what he can do before they decide. He should play a lot. We have some very good, very young linebackers. And all but Cutter, coming back from injury. So we don't know where they're going to become fall. Carrico may start because somebody else is not fully recovered at that point. Whether he starts or not, he should be playing a lot of snaps. And he also, he's the body type that Coach Brown wants on special teams, or wants more of, because that's where we have a shortage. So he probably will also be playing special teams. Bray, wide receiver, starting is going to be tough. We've got some really good guys ahead of him. They're young, but they're very good. Bray might start a few games, especially if somebody's banged up. He will play a lot. He should play a lot. I don't think he'll force anybody out. Now, safety, Burks and Wilson keep their spots. Minkins, I think, becomes the number one replacement at maybe all three spots, including Spear. I think he'll move around a lot, play a good bit. Wilson and Burks played way too much. We need a guy who can give them time off. I think Minkins may be that guy. Rael moves in as the starter at Spear, or the presumptive starter. We have other guys coming in who can probably play Spear under certain conditions, especially passing downs. But then again, you may want Rael in there for the pressure he can bring on passing downs. And if you're doing that, his coverage skills don't matter as much. Collins, dang it, I want Collins to succeed. His freshman year, he was forced into playing, got injured, but he was always around the ball. Last year, again, just wasn't quite getting traction. I hope he has a really good spring and moves his way into a lot of playing time. But I don't see him necessarily starting at Spear at this point. Now, we need Jackson, Tagaloa Nelson, and maybe Wilcox to be able to play. We don't need them to start. We don't need them to play a lot. But we need them to be ready to play and to be difference makers, and maybe find out if their coverage skills are better than some of what we've had. Now, who's going to corner the market on corner? I think that's going to be a fun question. Right now, it's just a mystery. Miller has been here for a year, but he hasn't played more than a few snaps because of the injury. And again, I don't know if he'll be back for spring or later, and I don't know if he's even applied for a waiver, medical waiver, as yet or not. So we're thinking he'll be back, but we don't actually have any sort of confirmation that I have seen. Spells, this will be his third year, played a lot his freshman year, not so much last year. Was working his way back up near the end of the season. Needs to take a giant step. Simon says, take a giant step. If he doesn't, he could be leaving at the end of spring. And I don't know him, but dang it, I want him to do well. He's hung around. He's hung in there. I want him to do well. But, we've got Crandall and Garnes coming in. We've got Jackson, who will be in his second year. Of course, he didn't play last year. Can he make that second year step into playing time? Don't look for him to start. Like to see him playing 10 snaps, 15 snaps, maybe 20 snaps a game, getting some significant time, giving guys a break. Crandall and Garnes look to be good, but we haven't seen them at West Virginia. So Spells is the only one we've seen. Like last season, there was that question, will this happen? Will this be a negative or a positive? And the media was answering negative to every one of those questions. I think we are going to be exceptional at corner next year. Barring, major injuries. I mean, I think we could handle 2 injuries. 3 would be, really screwing things up. But even on that regard, we are a little better off than we were this time last year. But if we don't have the major injuries, if Miller comes back from his major injury, corner should be very, very good. A lot of people are kind of thinking Crandall and Garnes are just going to step in and take over. I'm not convinced. All right. I think Miller, he was starting when he got hurt. I think he could still be starting at least through spring camp. And spells, we don't know. If he plays to his apparent potential, he could be the starter against Penn State. But the ideal is that we have 4 guys who play a lot. Where, again, where we're looking more at 50, no more than 60 snaps a game for the starter, and 20 to 35 snaps, maybe a little more than that, for the number 2 guy. And then we've kind of got, whoever's the number 5 guy, which at this point looks to be Jackson, might not be, but we want him to be able to get in there and play a good 10 snaps, maybe 15. Looks like we may be able to do that, which hopefully would be enough to keep the corners happy. Now, of course, we're losing a lot of guys to graduation next year. I think the young guys will be ready after that, plus the guys we'll bring in after that. But for now, it looks like we have I'm going to call it homegrown talent when we bring him straight from high school. And we have the portal transfers who fill the needs, raise the talent level, give us a pretty good experience level overall. Not necessarily all that, Power 5 or West Virginia, but some good experience. We're not going to be playing a lot of brand new guys, or brand new to college ball, but we probably will need to make a couple of moves in May. Had good luck, last spring with the transfers. Don't think we'll need as many, but we'll probably bring in a few. And we'll have the official visits by then. So things look good. Portal is closed. So this video is closed. I will see you later. Please subscribe, comment, click the thumbs up, the notification bell, share, tell your friends. And this is Forrest at West Virginia Football Going Deep. And I'm going out. So long.